Jonathan with Iron Mind Hypnosis. I think that the 10th thing that I would like everyone to know about hypnosis is actually a little bit broader than hypnosis. It's about influence and the power of suggestion. But there's no way not to influence the people who become aware of you. There's you know sometimes it people will say that person isn't very influential or not very charismatic or something like that. But it's not true. Now, it's true that we mean charisma and we're thinking of a certain sort of charisma with a certain sort of outcome and a certain alignment between somebody's goals and their actual outcomes in the world. And when if that's what you mean when you mean charisma, yes, there's a wide range of behaviors and skill sets and people's way of being between very effective and very ineffective. There are some people who thanks to the way they are in the world, the way they show up, and the way they behave, actually have a tendency to get the opposite of influence, the opposite of charisma, the opposite of whatever it is they're trying to do. They pretty much get the opposite. And on the flip side, there's people who very often get what they want. And it's not that these people may necessarily not want very similar things. They might want very similar things, but their skills can make a big difference. That said, for those that are being anti-charismatic, anti-influential, anti-suggestive, they're still having an impact. And likewise, for those people that we typically think of as in the neutral, not strongly influencing those around, if you notice them, if you're aware of their existence on even an unconscious level, they have influenced you. The reason I mention this is because it flips around the other way. There's no way for you to not influence people. Now you can try to be as neutral as possible if you don't want to have a strong sway on people. If you want to leave things up to people and their own creativity. And there are certainly situations where that might be the right answer, and you might try very hard to leave the smallest footprint, basically, on the lives around you, where you're going in your direction, and you have no reason to think that people will be any better off by following you or by not following you. And so you would try to tread lightly and leave things as unaffected as they could possibly be, because you don't know if, or you don't feel strongly that you're on the right path necessarily. You're on perhaps the right path for you. Maybe you're very convinced that it's the right path for you. Or maybe you've just picked something more or less at random and you're trying it. And you don't want everybody trying the same thing. At least not till you work out that it works or doesn't. So yes, you can try and turn down your influence, but that's still noticed. People notice that goes into their opinion of how you go through the world. They see you, they think that's how you normally are, or if they know you elsewhere, that you're being uninfluential for some reason. Likewise, if they don't know you, they might not recognize you, or you see them once and only once. You're still impacting the people who see you, the people who noticed you out the corner of your eye, corner of their eye. If you're going through life and you're behaving any sort of way that people notice, it has an impact. If you're littering on the street or the sidewalk, it impacts people. Not just the fact that the litter is there. Please, actually, don't litter, by the way. Not just the fact that you recycle properly, or don't recycle properly, or litter, or use the proper trash bin. These things influence the people who don't even know you to think that things are or not acceptable. So if you do a certain behavior, even if people don't know who you are, they're likely to think that is an acceptable, popular thing to do, whether that's a way of speaking, or it's a action like littering, whether it's the clothes you wear or the way you hold yourself. It goes into people's idea of what is out there in the world and what's acceptable behavior. So even if people don't know you, and even if you're trying to be uninfluential, you can't not influence people. So I think it's important to be mindful about how you influence the people around you, because you can't not. And their lives are important just like yours is. And there's one other thing. Even if nobody else is watching you, even if there's nobody to influence you, even if nobody will ever see the consequences of your actions, there's no video, and it's happening in a vacuum. There's always at least one person who sees and is influenced by the choices you make, and that's you. Well, you. You're always there watching what you do. Even if you don't consciously remember what you do, you remember how you showed up on an unconscious level. And it sets a expectation that, oh, I'm used to showing up in a certain way, or I'm used to having this sort of standard, or having that sort of standard. So the reason I mention all this, talking about suggestions that are of the subtle sort that are out there in the world, is because we have the opportunity to choose how we show up in the world, to choose what suggestions we make for ourselves, what suggestions we make for others, and to be as good an example as we can figure out how to be. Now, one of the things that I think gives a lot of power and flexibility to making that choice is hypnosis. It makes it easier for you to be the person you want to be, set the example you want to set, and live the life you want to live. Now, there's lots of ways to make changes in your life. And I have opinions about which ones are right for me and which ones are right for many other people. But most things have more than one way of getting there. And it's important that wherever it is you're going, that is to do with your values, your virtues, what's important to you. Anyway, I hope you have an opportunity to really take time today to step up in a way that communicates to yourself the life that you want to live. And I hope that positively impacts the people around you. It doesn't have to be a complex language pattern or any of the things that one might learn in hypnosis to have an impact on people. You can have an impact just by living your life in the best way possible. Because honestly, you can't not have an impact by living it any more poorly. So if you have to have an impact, you might as well have the best impact you know how to do. I think a good way to do that is with hypnosis, making life easier to do the best things. But there's lots of solutions. And I hope you have a wonderful day.